I'm Mike,
And I'm Amber. Welcome to the Covenant Chronicles,
where we tell you the truth about relationships.
giving you the tools to build the foundation you always needed. Hi, welcome back to the Covenant Chronicles. I don't
Sup?
even know what we're talking about today, so
We're going to talk about communication.
okay.
Do you know why?
Nope.
Because we haven't been doing a good job at it this week. So we're going to talk about it. And what better way to record a podcast than to live go into a conversation about our communication this week?
I don't know if people want to hear that.
Well, they're going to hear it. So here we are.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk about it, though, because, we've mentioned it before, but it's when people feel, or, I guess when you examine, I guess, somebody that has supposedly gotten to where you are or where you want to be. The problem is that we have this fake view, I guess you could call it, of like the facade that they've built, in the sense of, well, if they're talking about it and they're giving advice, they must be perfect, right? But that's not true. And in fact, everybody, regardless of what it is, right? Whether you are seeking help for finances or your business or life or a relationship or whatever it is, the people that are supposedly have it all together, I guess, or the people that do supposedly have it all together, still make mistakes. And I thought it was important to talk about that because it allows a level of connection. I was listening to someone that I have, met and been in touch with and followed for many years now today. And they're in the financial and investing space. And, because I have spent personal time with this person, I, have been able to experience their genuineness, right? Of them just genuinely wanting to be better, do better, help everyone around them and help everybody that they can reach just be better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was really interesting is I looked up to this person because of like their I guess that view of, well, they have it all together, right? And what's really interesting is I was listening to them today, and they had talked about, because they are in the financial and the investing space, and they had talked about how they made a massive mistake with something they thought they were making a really good investment in.
Mm-hmm.
And what was interesting about it is, looking back now, this time period in which this had happened, they actually, I was somewhat following their advice at that point in the investment space. And what was really interesting is not all of it, but some of it. And they had gotten, they lost a lot of money, I'll put it that way. And it was just a good reminder of, and here we are, right? Let's fast forward, because it's been years. You're talking, this is probably 4 or 5 years ago now. And you're talking about a situation in which they, well, I'd say under 5, maybe 4. Anyways, not relevant, but essentially you're talking about a situation in which, they have come extremely far. And when I looked at them then, I thought they were doing well and they had it figured out. And now seeing the shift between then and now, they're 10 times further ahead than they were, just 4 years ago. And it was interesting to see because they had a massive loss that would have, just totally destroyed most people. And it wasn't the fact that it was small to them, it was their resilience that uh kept pushing them through. And interestingly enough, even though, you look at it and it's like, wow, they made a massive, massive um financial mistake at that time, actually in a time where I was even listening to their financial advice. They rebounded back and continued to grow and continued to not only, help themselves, but help thousands of other people change their lives for the better and get to a much better financial scenario.
Mhm.
And I bring all this up because it is important, and when we had this, I was listening to that this morning, and, when you and I were meeting up for lunch, with this other couple, it was, we had a little bit of a disagreement, and I was even, kind of frustrated when we were walking into the restaurant there, and I expressed why I was frustrated, but, it was like, it didn't take me very long of sitting down and just starting to converse with this other couple to go, wow, that was the wrong way to deal with that, right? And because we talk about it and we talk about situations on this scenario in this podcast of these scenarios in which, when you're communicating with your spouse or when she's talking to you, and we brought up before about the metaphor of the trash can and not taking out the trash, right? How you're not listening. And that was a perfect example, right? Real life example of like, I wasn't listening. And there's no, excuse. There's a, hey, here's the reasoning why I wasn't as open. And for me, that was just simply being involved in the projects that I was working on projects for, you know, um, two different businesses and taking phone calls for two different businesses at that point in time, and kind of just going from that to like, oh crap, I've got to get to this lunch and everything, and mine being all frazzled. And then, you text me with basically this, you feel that we're not communicating well, or I'm not communicating well with you, and it's frustrating you right now. And it just was like this snowball effect, right? And the importance behind that, is that we can learn from that, right? And it was like, as we're walking into the restaurant, as we're sitting down to have lunch with this couple, it's like this click of like, okay, I handled that wrong. Okay, she was trying to express her feelings to me. Okay, I wasn't listening in that moment. Okay. And it was funny because we even talked about it, and what's interesting is I think that the couple we sat down with thought like I was giving them a past example of like, hey, I screwed up and here's an example. It's like, no, this happened 5 minutes, like, hey, no, this happened 5 minutes ago, right? Like, even though you and I and our communication is amazing, and a lot of people look up to us for our communication ability and where we've gotten in our relationship, I still make mistakes. You still make mistakes. We still make mistakes, right?
Mhm.
And I think it's important to express that to people, right? Is that humans make mistakes, and sometimes it impacts just you, sometimes it impacts you and your partner, sometimes it impacts other people. but it's how you deal with that that makes the differentiation of who you are, right? And in that moment, like I said, I literally in my head, and we were, granted this scenario was unfolding as we're walking into this restaurant, right? So we had to like quickly flip a switch, but it's like we went straight from walking in the door to meeting uh with this couple, and like as we're sitting down, it's like it's all clicking for me while I'm having this conversation. And of course I wasn't going to break this conversation with this couple and be like, hey, my bad, babe, I screwed up, like hold on, pause, people, I got to talk. But that was, afterwards I went to you and I said, hey, like I screwed up. I realized that, and you said, okay, hey, maybe the way I said it, like contributed to that. And I just said, hey, let's, sit down and talk. Let's figure out stuff that maybe you feel like I haven't communicated well with you on this week. And let's work through that later. And it was like this, like coming back together and saying, okay, like, let's work through that. Right.
Mm.
And it's important to me to acknowledge those situations because all too often, like I said, I think we sit in this situation where, okay, well, just because we have come so far, just because we've developed these skills inside of relationships, doesn't mean we don't screw up. And it was for me years and years and years, and for you years and years and years. I mean, half of the time we've been alive, almost,
Yeah.
of screwing up to get to this place we are now,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that doesn't mean that we don't, because we do. And sometimes we make mistakes, but it's how we take those learning opportunities. We actually learn from them, and then we continue to push forward.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to contribute right now, to be honest. uh, yeah, we haven't had a great week of communication, so it's kind of compounded into, I don't know, not the best day today.
You want to talk about your feelings about that?
No, not really.
I mean, it's an important thing to show that side of it, though, to show, I guess, the effects of that, right? Of like, you know, we haven't communicated well this week. And even though we've had some intimacy to help with connection, we've also been very disconnected in a lot of our communication, and a lot of like really just like fast pace, go, 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 not communicating, get through our day, go to bed, get up, do it again. And it's, compounded into this week that we've had in which, it throws, I think it throws you off, right? It throws off your energy. It throws off your vibe. It throws off like the normal fun playfulness that we have, right?
Yeah. Or you wanted me to talk about
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Want to talk about your side, your perspective of this?
Oh, my Lanta. I don't know. To be honest, like, there's a lot of me trying to work through my own thoughts and feelings and not like just put stuff on you that shouldn't be on you. But I do feel like uh, the lack of communication has led me to a point of feeling like we've talked about, where like you're not doing what you said you would do, and me feeling frustrated by that.
Hmm.
You not communicating things with me, and then I feel frustrated because not it's not even that I had a plan necessarily, but just the lack of communication makes it frustrating for me.
Hmm.
Um, which is funny because we talked about that at lunch today with the other couple. I think is just a thing in general for women. Like, if you're gonna, their example was like him saying that he was gonna be home at 7, and then at 7:18, his wife starts texting him like, "Where are you?" And he's like, "I told you I was gonna be home at 7." And she's like, "It's 7:18.
Yeah.
You're not home.
Right.
Where are you?" And him thinking, "Well, I told you 7. That means like it could be anytime from 6:30 to 8:30." No,
Yeah.
that's not how that works. Like, if you say you're gonna be home at 7, we're gonna expect you to be home at 7.
Hmm.
If you say, like, it goes with anything. We multiple times made the comment about taking out the trash. Like, that's just another version of that. It's just more or less the lack of communication, and then the us feeling like you're not doing what you said you would do, or you not, you know, you telling us one thing and then doing the opposite of it. Like, it just ends up creating more disconnection in your relationship.
Well, and that's exactly why I want to talk about this, right? So, how, from a woman's perspective, let's use the time thing, being home at 7. If he can't guarantee he's going to be home at 7 or slightly before on the dot, what can he say to give himself leeway, but also convey things to you?
I don't think if you know that it's not going to be at 7, you don't need to say, "I'll be home at 7." Like, you can say, "I'll text you when I'm leaving," or "I'll let you know when I'm about to leave or almost done or about to head home." Like, any of those things. It's the giving like a specific time and then you not actually like
Mm-hmm.
following it.
Mm-hmm.
Because typically, if you're going to be like, "Oh, I'll text you when I'm on my way," or "I'll text you when I'm leaving," whatever the case may be, we're not going to sit there and like be watching the clock at 7 o'clock to see if you're home or not. It's more like, okay, well, he'll text me when he's actually leaving.
So, what about the scenarios in which she's upset that he works so much and she wants something more definitive? So, what about, hey, I'm shooting for after 7, but it may be a little later. I'll text you when I'm about to leave.
I mean, that's fine too. Like, just if you have a general idea, it's okay to say it. It's more or less the like, "I will be home at 7" that creates an issue.
Or, hey, I'm going to head home. And then most of the way through the day, hey, I forgot that my daughter has a volleyball game tonight.
Hmm.
Hey, look, most things I put on the calendar. That one I did not put on the calendar, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. It more or less leaves us feeling like an afterthought or backburnered on things. Like, you're not taking the time to think about us or how what you do impacts us in the scenario. And that leads to usually feelings of like irritation, annoyment, frustration, all the things.
Yeah, that's good because it, it helps to, I guess, walk through like a live scenario of how that looks, right? And then the flip side of trying to, communicate more effectively and actually work through stuff, right? And I'm not sure, how you view this, but we did have that conversation around lunchtime today. And since then, there's been more of a, hey, okay, I did this. Hey, I'm going to do this. Hey, blah, 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 blah. More open communication,
A
right?
little bit.
A little bit. And an adjustment to that, though.
Yeah. Uh, Part of our communication issues this week have just been the fact that, like, I've seen you for, like, 30 minutes the past, like, 4 days.
Hmm.
Like, we go to bed together, but outside of that, I've not hardly seen you at all this week, and so that's been a little bit of frustration,
So,
especially because a couple of times it was, like, last minute, "Hey, I'm doing this," and then it was an assumption of something being an hour long that turned into a 3-hour long thing, and, you know.
so you're missing connection. My poor communication has led to frustration, and not because you necessarily have to know everything I'm doing at every minute of the day, but when you do, since you are missing connection, you do get somewhat excited to actually have time with me or connect with me. And when you feel like that's ripped out from under you because I didn't communicate ahead of time and you've set this expectation based on my communication or lack thereof,
Mhm,
then it's more of a almost like a letdown,
mhm,
which then leads to your frustration, compounding effects of disconnection.
mhm.
Am I on the right path?
I mean, yeah.
You mean, yeah? What am I missing?
No, I mean, it's true. It just it starts to compound and pile up, especially if it goes on for days and days at a time,
Hmm.
and then it's kind of hard if you don't have the time to actually, like, reconnect again, and you're just going to bed after seeing them for 5 minutes during the day.
Hmm. You don't say.
Mhm.
No, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you. But I think that's why it's important to walk through these things. And that's why I was like, when you asked me what we're going to talk about, I'm like, we're going to talk about this.
I mean, I did tell you earlier in the day, like, we needed to actually create some sort of plan to communicate better because I don't want that to be a thing forever. And I think I did tell you that I was feeling frustrated this morning because I felt like there was a lack of communication and I didn't want that to continue to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not like we've just been, like, at each other for the last couple days because of lack of communication, like, I do feel like we've at least attempted it in a healthy way, but, there's just been a lot of little things, um, that have added up to a bigger frustration.
So, part of my communication issues or lack thereof, because I'm going to bring this back to the guy doing what he should do and not even just in the manner of with his spouse, but even in the manner of his own habits and rituals. Part of my issue with communication this week has stemmed from, we've talked about this, and for me, I'm a big calendar person. I have to put everything on the calendar because if I don't, I'm going to forget,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you know what I haven't done this week?
Put anything on the calendar, I'm assuming.
Mm. So I don't put anything on the calendar, which then leads to me being more sporadic and trying to remember things instead of adding something to my calendar. And when it affects time that I should be home or time with you or time with the kids, communicating that and saying, hey, by the way, here you go, or send you like a screenshot or a calendar invite like I normally do.
Well, and part of it, to be honest, this week has been the lack of, like, I don't expect you to ask me to do things, but usually there's like a, hey, I'm gonna do this. I just want to let you know, like, is that okay? You know, whatever. And there was not any of that this week at any point. And so there was a bit of frustration about that. Like, I don't need you to ask me so that you get permission to do something. Like, that's not, that's not our dynamic. That's not the point. But, like, at least having communication
And informing you of
about
like
things.
when you're expecting me home at say 5 o'clock or 5:30, but I have a dinner meeting with somebody at 5:30.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Communication, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because
this
I'm
goes,
sure there's people that are going to be like, oh, we have to ask permission or whatever. Like, that's not the case. It's just the lack of communication about what's actually happening that's the frustration.
yeah, we make that joke all the time. You're not my mom. I don't ask for permission. But communicating with your partner is a different story.
Hmm.
And communicating with your partner and saying, hey, by the way, I
Or
have this.
like, is there something going on? Like, is this, an okay time to do this type of thing? Those are things that we normally communicate about that were not a thing this week.
I don't remember one time I've asked if it's an okay time. I usually just ask you if there's anything going on and then I
Well,
schedule something.
I mean,
It's your fault. They're going to
either
think.
way, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the thing, right? Is communicating with your partner and saying, hey, like, do we have anything going on at this time? You know, and it's different, right? Like, we also have an understanding. I typically leave the house before you're up, so kiss your forehead and then I leave. And, up until a certain time, like, that I'm conducting business, whatever that looks like for that day. But and you don't ever question, like, you'll ask me how my day is going or how I'm doing, or is there anything you can help me with, or like checking in on me, right, of like just making sure I'm doing good, or like how, well, what have you been up to, like just inquiring about like if I'm working on something or whatever. But there's like this understanding of up until a certain time, like it is what it is, and I've set that expectation to help with communication. It's not a like, well, I'm home when I'm home, it's, hey, this time, this is when I'll usually head towards the house. Um,
That's not to say there haven't been times that he's like, I get off at 5 and then at 5:45 I'm like, where are you?
yes, communication. Uh, but that's the thing. And that's, I think, the point here, right? Is like, I've set that expectation in the sense of communicating, because at the end of the day, I could set it to whatever. right? I could set it to 4:30. I could set it to 5, 5:30, 7 o'clock. Like I could set it to whatever, but it's a like giving you a landmark of like, hey, this is when roughly to expect me for the purpose of communication. And then, so there's an expectation of, hey, you know, I'm 5 minutes from the house, 10 minutes from the house. So if I say 5, I'm done for the day. Typically about 5:15, you expect me to like roll in the door. And there's this like expectation of like, okay, cool, it's you time, it's kid time, it's family time, right? And if I'm not communicating until the last minute or forgetting to communicate or whatever it is, and it's like you know, especially if we get later in the day. Now, of course, stuff comes up, right? And if I'm like, hey, this came up, it just came up like this, that, and the other. Usually, like I don't really recall any time at least that you've gotten upset at me and been like, you know, like grumbling about it. Like it's like, okay, like, you know, I'll see you when you get home then.
Yeah.
But if it's a situation of like, hey, I planned this, you know, because like in the one sense, like I planned this dinner, I think, talked about it loosely last week, didn't have any set plans, so probably wasn't gonna, you know, let you know because I didn't have set plans for it. And then Tuesday rolled around and I set plans for Wednesday, which I forgot to communicate. And it wasn't until I had to shift around my plans for Wednesday that I was like at, you know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday that it was like, hey, by the way, this is going on. And you're like, okay, cool. Ooh, you know, and there was a little bit of frustration there because the last minute, because I knew about it,
Mm-hmm.
didn't put in my calendar, forgot about it. And then I had to shift, you know, basically everything that went on that evening and move everything around, all because of the basis of I didn't use my calendar and didn't follow my habit. So I had to shift plans, shift meetings just to rearrange my priorities and also frustrate you because I didn't communicate any of it, didn't tell you I had any plans this week, and now multiple days in a row have not been here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're giving me that look like, no shit, Sherlock.
Basically.
The moral of the story is communication with your partner. This is very important, men, for you to communicate with your wife, with your spouse, with your significant other. And whatever system works for you, use it. If you like calendars on your phone or Google Calendars, use it. If you like, I don't even know what other kind of calendar, I'm sure there's a million planners on your phone or this and that, you know, use it. If it's a day planner, use it. Whatever that system is for you to organize your dates, use it. And if you don't and you have trouble remembering stuff, maybe you should try that. Try using a day planner, try using the calendar in your phone. You know, I'm a big fan of Google calendars. I like all my Google stuff. It intermingles, you know, you got your calendar, you got your email, you got your whatever else, your drive, you got, you know, all the stuff that Microsoft has for free basically in Google. So I like my Google stuff, but if I don't use it, it doesn't really do much for me.
No, not really.
You know, as we're sitting here recording this, it's, you know, after 10 o'clock at night our time, and I'm getting a text about, hey, by the way, we have that meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, which I did tell you about that one. So we're safe
Yeah, that's
there.
the only thing you
Yeah.
told me about this week.
However, you know what I didn't do?
Mm,
Didn't put it on my calendar. That's crazy. You know
mm,
what is on the calendar for tomorrow, though?
mm,
Our lunch date.
mm.
Well, it's kind of like a breakfast date at that time, but, you know, we might make that a little tad bit later. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So the moral of the story is find a way to organize yourself, figure out what works for you, and use it, and then communicate said use with your partner. In fact, how much better do you like it when I just add you to the events? Or I screenshot it on my calendar and I send it to you.
Yeah, I mean, just informing me at any point is better than nothing.
Mm.
I think maybe that, if nothing else, you can understand the female's perspective. And maybe it doesn't make sense to you, but I can almost guarantee you that every woman listening to this is gonna be like, mm-hmm, yep, that's how yep, that's how
See,
I feel.
now you know why. That's why I wanted to talk about it. When that's what we're talking about. We're talking about this because I guarantee you everybody listening right now can relate to this. And the dudes are going to be like, whoa, she just needs to deal with it. She needs to stop being needy. No, you just need to communicate. That's
That's
not
not
that
gonna
hard.
fix your relationship.
Right.
That's just gonna make your wife or spouse or girlfriend even more frustrated and build more resentment. And yeah.
And that's the crazy thing, right? Is like it's extremely simple. Like if people actually listen to what was said and what you said, which is why I asked you, you're not like, hey, I need to know your every move and I need you to ask me for permission to do things. Because honestly, if she needs you to ask permission to do things, you're not her partner, you're her child, and that relationship is doomed.
Well, to be
But
honest, it's probably because you haven't been communicating and there's a lack of trust and a whole lot of other issues.
yeah, we've talked a lot about that too. But at the end of the day, like if they listen to what was said, it's hey, just communicate so I can set expectations accordingly.
Mhm.
If I'm not going to see you tonight, cool. Let me know so I can expect not to see you.
Yeah, because if I'm expecting not to see you, my whole like frame of mind and like whatever is completely different than me expecting to see you and then being told that I'm not going to see you. And then I'm just frustrated. But if I know ahead of time, I can actually plan accordingly and then I'm not frustrated.
You know, that whole actually listening thing. How many guys are picking up on the fact right now that it's not even that she wants to nag you? She just actually wants to spend time with you. You know, the thing that you don't think she wants, she does, which is why she's frustrated about your lack of communication.
Pretty much, yeah.
Mm, crazy. And they say women are complicated. They're really not. They're really not. She
See,
just,
the thing is, though, like so many women feel like they can't communicate how they're actually feeling or what they're actually thinking because you don't listen. And then so they just don't. And then the guy's perspective is that she's just nagging and she's just doing this and that. And if you are actually communicating and being open, she's probably going to tell you exactly how she feels.
mm, that's crazy.
Hmm.
So you're saying the dude is supposed to do what the dude's supposed to do, and he's supposed to lead and communicate and then listen. Because if he listens, she'll communicate. And if he communicates, she'll communicate.
Yeah.
But I thought it was that women don't know how to communicate.
We just shut down and refuse to communicate because you don't listen.
Oh, oh, that's crazy. Well, hopefully somebody's listening to that right now. On that, I'm gonna go work on my communication over here. And y'all need to for the men out there, You need to follow your processes and your protocols and your systems. Use your calendar, communicate said calendar with your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
For the women, work on that communication.
Mm-hmm.
If he cares, he's going to want to hear why you're feeling and how you're feeling.
Just don't shut her down in the process of her communicating, and then she'll keep doing it.
That's going to be that'll be a later podcast. We'll talk about that too. All right, y'all. Go communicate. Go use your calendars. Communicate. It's important. Your spouse cares about what's going on in your life. Stop treating them like a what would that even be? Like a foreigner, somebody you just met. A foreigner in a biblical term.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody you just met.
A stranger.
Yeah, stop treating them like a stranger. Okay, you don't. You probably tell Joe in the office more about your life and your schedule than your spouse and your partner. Let's not do that. Go communicate and use your calendar.
Yeah, go do that.
All right, y'all. Until next time.
Bye.